This is Twit.
I told you in the beginning that we have something serious to talk about, and I wanted to bring our friend Tim Duffy in and talk about this. It looks like we have lost another amateur. Tim Duffy, how are you doing?
Doing good, Bob. Thanks very much for asking me to be on the show this evening. It's certainly a topic that is near and dear to both of our hearts and all of the Ham Nation listeners. Really, we need to focus on this and do something about, the tower safety and antenna safety so that we don't lose another radio amateur to a fatality here this year.
Well, I couldn't believe it when I read it that Clovis, he did this same thing that happened to our friend Paul. It's just awful, and I know that you knew Clovis very well. He was a very strong DX operator. Tell us a little bit about some of his accomplishments, if you can, Tim.
Yeah, Bob, Clovis. And his call sign is PV8ADI from Brazil, Papa Victor 8 Alpha Delta India, and Clovis was a ham's ham. And when I talk about a ham's ham, that is somebody that has such a deep love for amateur radio and for wireless and radio in his heart. He had been a ham for over 60 years, and this was. He's 80 years old here working on his tower, and this is what he loved. He loved working on his antennas, working on his towers. He built all of his towers, all of his antennas almost by himself. So he was indestructible. Even at the age of 80, he felt indestructible. And Clovis, Bob, was on the air every day. He was making QSOs. He loved CW. He was on 40 meters, on 20 meters, on 80 meters. And we would work him in the contest. I would work him outside of the contest. He just loved ham radio. And he loved any ham that wanted to get on the air and make QSOs. Look at some of these antennas that he had put together. And he was a beacon from Brazil, a real stalwart. But, Bob, like so many of us, he got stuck in his ways. He had used for many years a chair to lift him up onto the tower into position so that he could work on his towers and on his antennas. And he was using rope, and he was using non-approved equipment to actually pull him up into position because even though he's in great shape for being 80 years old, he just couldn't climb the towers like he used to back in the day. So, and that failed here less than a week ago. Over the weekend, it failed. And so PV8ADI became a silent key, much the same way that Reverend Paul Bittner, W0AIH, did on October 31st. And Paul was 84 years old. He was quite proud of how he had maintained all of his antennas by himself. And again, it was a pulley and a rope and pulling up, so that he didn't have to climb the towers. And that is very, very, very unsafe. And so, our hope, Bob, is here tonight that every listener goes to their club meetings and said, talks about the fact that PV8ADI, W0AIH made some poor decisions in how they were going to maintain their antennas. And so that's the hope, that the word gets out and through the clubs and through club meetings that you're not going and borrowing a belt and it's amateur hour. It's tower maintenance, antenna maintenance up on a tower is just not the time to be an amateur. It's better to have a seasoned professional do the work for you, especially as we get on in years. And, here at K3LR, we've got 13 towers. I'm very well aware that I'm past my prime of climbing. And so It's much better to have the professionals do it. That's what when you have a plumbing problem that's really serious, you call a plumber. When you have somebody that you have a problem with your heating or air conditioning, you call a pro. You got to do that when it comes to your tower issues. Every year on field day, guys take chances, and you have to ask what your life is worth, and it's priceless. So, and it's really important that if you see something that is unsafe, you say something and say, stop. Don't do it. Because we just can't have this, Bob. We can't have guys going up and doing tower work in an unsafe manner. It just doesn't. It's not the amateur way. Enough with these silent keys. We have to make sure that we're taking care of our own. And Bob, at Contest University this year, as we do every year, we have a tower safety class, and it's taught by a professional. Tim Jellison, W3YQ, graciously comes down. He is certified. He is a tower professional. He's got years of professional experience. Tim and I have been friends for 45 years. He has worked in the tower industry. He knows the right way to do things. And so if you have any questions, you can always email Tim, or you can come to Contest University, and he'll help you. He'll answer all your questions, point you to great information on the internet. And that's the real secret, is to make sure that you don't take chances that end up in a silent key. W0AIH, PV8ADI, and others, unfortunately, have become silent keys because of tower accidents that can be prevented. And that's what we want to do, is prevent the next one. We don't want to see this happen again, Bob.
Absolutely. I'm just sitting here thinking that, last year at Dayton and the Contest University, who would have thought that you and I would, in a short time, be here talking about 2 deaths of 2 giant operators? It's really hard to imagine, and they did it in a like manner. So don't ever think that you are indestructible and you can just go climbing up a tower, and you have to know how to do it. That's the whole deal. And there are people that can help you. So you need to, if you don't know of any, contact myself, contact Tim, even Valerie's Jerry. That's their business. They not only do amateur radio towers, they're doing 1,000-foot broadcast towers. We need to learn from those guys. But the learning for me is picking up a telephone and saying hello. But please take this to heart. Don't just let this go by. And we're not going to let it go by, because Tim has graciously accepted we're going to come on every once in a while here and beat this into all of us, because this is a serious thing, and I can't believe so much has happened all of a sudden. And you look at Victor, if you have that first picture of Clovis in that red tower, check out the towers that he built. Now, look at that. This is not a Roan 25G. Have you been there to see that particular tower when it got finished, Tim?
I've been to Brazil, but I have not been to Clovis's QTH, even though we were good friends. I've not been there, but you can see just from this photo, Bob, the meticulous attention to detail. But even though he is on a ladder here, Bob, what is missing in this photo, and unfortunately, I think we saw this several times, Clovis doesn't have a safety belt on, or a fall arrest harness. So there's a safety belt and a fall arrest harness that are part of every climber's gear in this case. Anytime you're over the height of 3 feet above the ground, you have to have a fall arrest harness and a safety belt. So 2 points of hooking up. So Clovis is here on a ladder, and he's got himself looped through with his arms, but he's certainly not in a safe condition. If something would happen here and he would fall, there's nothing here to save his life. So we need to learn from Clovis. I mean, Clovis was a a tremendous amateur radio operator. At 80 years old, he felt indestructible. All of us get to a point where we shouldn't be climbing, even though we think we can. But even some of our newer, inexperienced hams, it's really important that we know our limitations. Here you see that he's got this small blue rope harness around his waist as a safety belt, but there's no fall arrest here. And it's really important. We've learned a lot since cellular telephone has come on the scene since 1984 in how we do tower work with fall arrest systems as well as safety belts. And as Bob pointed out, if you have a tower job and you need help, all you have to do is email either Bob or myself at k3lr.com, and I will point you towards a tower professional that understands amateur radio in your area, and we will get you the help you need. If you need a rotor replaced, if you need an antenna installed, whatever it takes, don't do something you shouldn't do. So let's stay safe. Let's stay alive.